Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of r/malicious compliance. In today's episode, I don't get paid to think. Okay, give me a slow laptop and blame me for taking too long to do things. Fine, I know I'll get a better one from you soon enough. Pia thinks she's my boss. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe so that you will never miss a video. Let's get started. I don't get paid to think. Okay, this story happened some time ago. At that point I didn't even know it was MC, but after I started reading stories here, figured out it fits right in. This is one of many, there will be more coming on. English is not my native language, but I am on PC, so no excuses for me if I make any mistakes. Background will be lengthy, but it helps you understand the case. I work in a call center, which supports a major UK internet service provider. We'll call it ISP for Internet Service Provider. It is one of the companies which rent the British Telecom phone lines in order to supply their customers with landline phones and broadband connection, aka internet connection through the phone line, supplying 20th century speeds for 21st century demands. I won't go to all the technicalities, but for most of our customers we still provide the old ADSL broadband. We used to have a number of systems which allowed us to troubleshoot the lines and get all the information we needed, such as Line Management Application, LMA, Internet Session Manager, ISM, Wireless Tool, WeFit, Fiber Cable Link, FCL, Service Problem Manager, SPM, etc. All those programs use different abbreviations, but I use these for security purposes. We use these systems on a daily basis until September 2017, when the company launched a new experimental AI to run diagnostics. It integrates only the necessary for basic troubleshooting information from the upper-mentioned systems, as it focuses on time management and fast solutions and provides us with a ready solution. We'll call the AI HAL. HAL is a step in the right direction, but it is not a real person and far dumber than its grandson, the 9000 version, so it often gives us stupid solutions for simple problems, runs a broadband test for a landline issue. For no dial tone it asks to replace the router, gives resolved on a line with 30+ connection drops in 12 hours, and a landline more crackly than a Geiger counter at Chernobyl, etc., etc., as if the creators purposely entered a sarcasm code in its brain. But I digress. For the less experienced of my colleagues, an override is provided by their line manager, and they do whatever the manager says, but I have been there for years and I know the side systems well enough to explore all the nuts and bolts and actually locate the problem, even if HAL told me everything was alright. Thus I used HAL for the first 2 minutes of my conversations and then relied on LMA, ISM, and FCL, for they always gave me more information. I often got chewed by my managers for spending too much time on individual cases, but I always got great reviews by the customers, so the managers often neglected that. That was, until ISP started shutting down most of the side systems, using the excuse that they were to be integrated in HAL. We kept most of the major ones, like LMA and ISM, which were our bread and butter when it comes to stability and speed, until recently, when ISP stopped LMA as well. No longer could we troubleshoot the ADSL broadband, because we had to rely on HAL, which showed us no line retrains, no errors, no chances to stabilize the lines, no checks for outages. Basically it took away all microscopes from a bacteria research lab. All of us agents were angry, the more experienced were really PO'd. But we got told from management, you don't get paid to think, use HAL. It is perfect. Time had passed. We now had only half of the original side systems and HAL barely improved. It was more difficult to troubleshoot problems and customer became less and less satisfied. No longer was I able to resolve 30% of the issues on the phone. We had to book engineers. This wasted time and money. I spoke to my manager multiple times. He said, submit your ideas via email. We'll look over them and report back. I submitted a very long email showing my concerns about HAL, stating that HAL was incompetent and we needed alternatives, gave ideas and even long-term solutions which would also cut down the engineers we send and save ISP a hefty amount of money per year. But, as you know, nobody likes a smartass. When leadership in the corporate world sees a good idea, they often shut it down, mostly out of envy and fear that their position might be taken by a person from the bottom of the food chain, only because this person has a little ingenuity. Shortly after my idea submission, I entered a room with 2 of my line managers and an operations manager. stating that I took too much liberty in pointing fingers and that I needed to know my place in the company. I then asked the following question. Me, well, what if HAL stops working? What are we going to do then? Managers, HAL is perfect. It is designed to work even when other systems don't. You don't need to worry. If it goes down, it will get back up in a few hours. Trust in HAL, HAL knows best. Nobody pays you to think about these things. Me, well, are we here to blindly follow a flawed system? Or are we here to provide a good customer service? I am here for the customer and I help them in any way I can. Because they don't care about our systems, they need a solution ASAP. Managers, you are wasting too much time in individual cases. You don't follow the process. It is made this way because it works. If you don't like it, look for another job. Well, guess what happened a few months ago? HAL stopped working due to unknown cause. HAL no longer ran landline nor broadband diagnostics. It always came out with errors, everywhere, on everyone. And even better, we had knowledge of a major outage in one of the more populated areas of the UK, affecting tens of thousands of customers. The side systems that would allow us to see if there was an outage were gone in favor of HAL. HAL was not working. Everyone went crazy. Cue the malicious compliance, realizing HAL was not working. I responded every time with "We have technical difficulties. We were told it would take a few hours. Please call us later." Then again, and again, and again. No troubleshooting, no checks, the same sentence over and over again. A BS excuse, then another, and another. The customer protested, but I couldn't care less, because when I before had suggested to use alternatives, it had always backfired with the same responses. Trust in HAL we trust. HAL is our Lord and Savior. So I acted accordingly. The only successful calls were the transfers to the other departments. I didn't do a single case of troubleshooting for 3 days. Because HAL didn't work for 4, 3 of which I was at work. I was actually smiling, for the call duration was only a few minutes and I took a bunch of them, which lowered my average call time and I was looking good. Statistically, that was, until the managers started listening to the calls. They do it to assess us. So yours truly was put once again in the same room with the 2 line managers and the operations manager. Managers, what are you doing? Me, what do you mean? Managers, when HAL was not working, you didn't do anything. No troubleshooting, no line checks, no manager approaches. You dodged every call that came to you. Me, well, HAL was not working. What was I supposed to do? Managers, use the side systems, check your alternatives. Use your brain for once. Me, I tried using my brain. I tried helping the customer in any way I could. I went above and beyond before. And what for? To get yelled for thinking and acting like a human being and not a mindless tech support. For my work I got yelled at and reminded where I am in the food chain. You told me in this very room to follow procedure. To do what HAL tells me. HAL was not working, therefore I couldn't work. You told me to trust HAL, it gave me an error and no solution. If HAL gave me no solution, as per process I had no solution for the customer. Managers, you are exaggerating the truth, you are again overly dramatic about it. Me, I am not. I am here to do my job and my job is to provide good customer service, regardless of which systems I use. Managers, it's not working this way. Me, yes, it is. My math teacher told me that a single problem has a single solution, and 100 paths to reach it. Here it is the same case. I take different approaches, but the end result is the same. The issue is resolved and the customer is happy. Can we agree on that? The managers, reluctantly, agreed. They never bothered me again on what systems I used. Still, more and more of the side systems got shut down, forcing me to rely only on HAL. I am now in the process of quitting my job because I am tired of dealing with a flawed system and spineless managers who follow their bosses like sheep. I tried applying for a manager's position myself, but I got rejected every time, stating I was too rebellious and I never followed the right procedure. Therefore, I was setting a bad example. So I decided to go back to my studies and graduate to become a merchant mariner and travel the world while these bosses broil in their pettiness. Give me a slow laptop and blame me for taking too long to do things. Fine, I know I'll get a better one from you soon enough. Inspired by some of the recent posts about technology woes in school settings, I have one from my middle school years. I was part of a technology pilot program which wanted every kid to have a laptop to accompany their schooling. My school, being in an affluent neighborhood, assumed that every student would bring their own half-decent laptop to class, and said they would provide laptops to those that could not afford them. They were right to think that this would be a fairly small amount, at least initially. My parents were unable to buy a laptop after some troubling financial situations arose, so we asked the school to provide one. Woo boy, what a hunk of junk that was. The total polar opposite of the top-end fancy laptops available at the time. It had the computing power of synthetic peanut butter and had the resolution of a knockoff kaleidoscope. I had a lot of fun with that machine. Anyway, it was very, very slow in comparison to what my peers were using. The school, in their infinite wisdom, thought that not exaggerating here, I tested it. 10 times slower response time would not be an issue. I informed them that I would be at a significant disadvantage to the other students, but they brushed it off. I was near the top of my class, but not by so far I could just take a handicap like that. But alas, all that protest was in vain. Well, if they wanted it that way, that's what they were going to get. The first computer-based test, 30 minutes. My classmates finished after 15 to 20 minutes. Guess who was stuck there nearly an hour after my classmates? Yeah, that was fun. Somehow this was my fault though. The teachers proctoring knew it wasn't. The IT department knew it wasn't. Yet, it was still my fault for being slow. I got reprimanded for that. So come the next test, I asked to take the test on paper instead. The leader of the pilot program went on this long lecture about how the experience is different. Duck off, it's a math test, how much more different can it be? After another excruciatingly long testing period, the teacher slid me a copy of the paper test and said he'd overlook it for now. My favorite teacher, by the way, and submit the test through his own account citing technology troubles. Lo and behold, it's literally no different from the test I was just taking. A few days after taking that second test, parents started complaining. Can you guess why? A student who gets good grades is also allowed to times extra time. Yeah, that totally went over well. My grades actually didn't really improve much from that, but the point still stands. Those parents were so infuriated by the disparity in technology available, no doubt wanting their kids not to have anything except at least equal equipment to the others, and that I was getting some sort of advantage somehow, that they pushed for the school to enforce a minimum standard of laptop. Myself. I can't complain too much, I got a free, good, laptop. Pia thinks she's my boss. A bit of background, I work in the film and television industry. On this particular shoot, I was the best boy electrician, the foreman of the electrical department, working directly under the gaffer/chief lighting technician. The duties of a BBE include things like filling out time cards for my department, hiring the lighting technicians, electricians, keeping the truck organized, and on this show, driving the grip/electric truck. One fine morning, I pull up to set, park my truck and shut off the engine. I open up the back, then I head into set to greet the gaffer and BBG and see where the gaffer wants things staged for the day, and what equipment will be pulling out first, and around whereabouts distro needs to be run. Once I get my instructions, I head back to the truck, and I find someone on it who I don't recognize. She's rummaging around the shelves looking through the milk crates, completely ignoring me. Now, it's not impossible for me to not recognize someone on the truck. The best boy Grip may have brought on a day player if he's short-handed that day, so I go to introduce myself. Me, hey, how are you today? Her, oh good, you must be a Pia, can you tell me where the spike tape is? Spike tape is marking tape, usually used for setting actors' marks. Me, oh, probably with the camera department. I'm sorry, who are you? Her, I'm just looking for the never mind. She found my personal rolls on my carabiner. I keep 2 colors for my own use, and I use one of them to tag my drinks, and the other one for setting marks when I do steady cam. These rolls are mine, they don't belong to the truck, nor to the production. She jumps down off of the deck of the truck and starts to head towards set. Me, wait, stop. That's not camera department's tape, do you want me to walk you the second to see for you? Her, what do you mean? It's spike tape, isn't it? I'm the key Pia, which makes me your boss. Plus, I was the production manager on mid-tier local web series, so you should know who I am. Me, those rolls are mine actually. They have my name written on them. Her, no, they have the BBE's name on them, the AD told me to ask him. But he wasn't by the truck. Me, I'm the BBE. Her, no you're not, you're just some local university freshman. I know the BBE, I have his phone number. Me, why don't you go ahead and call him? She grabs a call sheet from her back pocket, then finds my number, dials it, and puts the phone to her ear. After a second staring at me with hostility, my phone starts to ring. I take it out of my pocket and answer. Me, give me my tape, stay off of the truck. PAs are not allowed to touch grip or electric equipment. I hang up, she gives me the tape, and slinks off. Cut to around lunch, and I see her lurking around Grip's staging area, and round the corner just fast enough to see her walking off with a couple of apple boxes. I hang around staging for a while, eat my lunch, then start doing the rounds and making sure everything is ready to get back into shooting after lunch. I run across the 2 apple boxes next to a lunchbox, a metal box with a bunch of outlets on it. Run from our generator to power lower wattage lights. She had unplugged a light in order to charge her phone, which was left on top of the box. I unplug her phone and take it straight to the AD. I talk to the AD about it. PIAs don't handle electric for any reason, we're pretty strict about that. And she was asked to go home after lunch. Turns out she had also spent the entire day hovering over the director's shoulder and bossing around the other PAs, despite the fact that she wasn't actually the key PA. It also turns out that she was a senior at the university she said I was a freshman from. I have not seen her since. I have no idea why she thought I was a production assistant. First time poster, apologies for any formatting errors. Clarification of terms for those who aren't familiar with set lingo. A D is the assistant director, PA is a production assistant, a C is assistant camera, BBE is best boy electric, and BBG is best boy grip. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.